In this episode of the Success Secret podcast, I am speaking with Craig Bennett and Meredith MacKay to talk about how relationships is the cheat code to leveling up your life and your business. So Craig Bennett and Meredith MacKay are life partners, business partners, and best friends. They left the corporate grind to become entrepreneurs with only a gut feeling and their solid relationship. They believe their relationship is a cheat code for life, and now they help entrepreneurs have that relationship too, so they can crush it in their business. So, Craig and Meredith, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're super excited to be here.
I am excited for you to be here in this episode. Thank you for joining. So, first of all, because this is the Success Secret podcast, and when we talk about relationship, is a cheat code for leveling up life and business, unlocking superpower for business success, which is a new aspect of things, I would say, because not many of us look at this type of thing in life or business in general. Simply, sometimes it gets ignored, I guess. So, but this is the Success Secret podcast. What is your definition of success, and how do you see other people between you two and other people you work with is have certain misconceptions around what success is?
You want to go?
Sure. I think I'll speak for both of us. You jump in if you've got a
Absolutely.
different opinion.
Absolutely.
For us, success is doing what we want, when we want, with the people we want. And so for us, we break that down to getting to do cool things with cool people whenever we want to do it. And what makes it special, what makes that easier is when you've got a life partner beside you that has the same goals, that supports you in your goals, and you get to row in the same direction on the same team towards the same destination.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so but a lot of people would say that this is hard to find the other half, whether it's as a business partner or a life partner, or let's say both. So, like, it's very, I don't know a percentage, but it's kind of like sometimes I hear a lot of people talk, I don't want my other half or my wife or my husband or vice versa to be in my business. So, how do you see that coming so far?
So I would say that that's fair. Like we're not proponents of that everyone should be in business together. It works for us. But what we are proponents of is that when you're in a relationship, whether you want them in your business or not, to be part of your business or not, when you have that relationship as the foundation, when that's working for you, you don't have to waste energy in this space and trying to repair this or lose energy because you're not getting along or you're not on the same page, and then you have that energy to focus on your business and building the success and the life that you went into entrepreneurship for. So what we're saying is that when you have that solid foundation, that's the foundation for everything else on which you can build, and that's when you can really start to get that extra source of energy to put into your business, because you're not wasting that energy trying to, half of your mind is thinking about your family life and how things aren't going well and that sort of thing. So you can take that energy that's lost and put it towards building your business. And when you're both on the same page, even though maybe they're not both in the business, when you both at least are aligned on the goals for the business and the vision for the business, and you understand what's going on in the business, then there isn't a wall that's being built between you. So at least if there's a communication of what's going on so that both people are aware, even though one may not be hands-on involved in the business day to day, at least they're impacted, right? They're impacted from this is an us, we built this life together, so it impacts me. So that communication of at least letting the other person know what's going on will supercharge your results and give you that extra energy.
Because to your point, the goals for the business, the goal for the future of the business is one aspect of your shared future together. So the business is one piece of that. So you have a full vision of what your future is together when you have shared goals. And yeah, your spouse may not be actively involved in the business, but to your point, having an awareness of what's going on, because the business is a big part of life, right? As the entrepreneur, the business It's a big part of what you focus on your energy. And if you cut your spouse out of that part of your life completely, then you've put a brick or two or three or 10 or 20 in the wall between you, because now all of a sudden you're not sharing something. And so you're starting to build that space between you and that disconnect. And that's what we hear from so many entrepreneurs is we're so disconnected. Like we're not on the same page. And that starts with every single time you don't share something, because for lots of reasons. I know I don't want to share that. I want to take on the burden. I don't want to put stress on them. I'm doing it for them. There's all kinds of really good reasons why you wouldn't share, especially the tough stuff in the business. But every time you do that, it's a little more space between you that builds that disconnection.
Yeah, cool. So going back a little bit back, so you, when you had your corporate jobs, you decided together to quit at the same time, and why did you decide to do that? Wasn't satisfactory your job?
Yeah, so it was during the pandemic. So it was back during the COVID pandemic, and life was in flux. All these companies were deciding what they wanted to do. They were cutting costs, moving people around, and all sorts of things. And that was the same for us. Our company,
We worked for the same company.
we worked for the same company. That's how we met. And the company said that we are going to relocate you. If you want to keep your job, you can, but we're going to move you across the country. And we had just moved to a place where we wanted to be. We were closer to family. And so it really gave us, an opportunity to really think about what we wanted in life. And we decided that we did not want to move back across the country, further away from all the people that we wanted to be with and be around. And so we really did some soul searching and talked about what do we want to do? And we realized that there's more on our heart to give. We want to do the cool things with cool people and have control of our own time and that time freedom that so many entrepreneurs are driven towards. And that was kind of the impetus for that decision was, the company made a decision, and then we had a decision to either go with it or go it on our own. And we decided that even though we had no idea what we were going to do or what entrepreneurship meant and how crazy of a life that would be for us, we decided that it was worth the effort to figure it out.
And we're both very planful people. Like we love a plan, make a plan, execute the plan, check all the boxes. And when we made the decision to leave the corporate life to be entrepreneurs, we had zero plan. It was not how we normally do things. So it was a very stressful time to make the decision. And then even once we made it, trying to figure out what we were going to do, it was like to Craig's point, we just trusted our gut, which is not what we usually do. Trust our gut and trust that the plan will take shape eventually. And so that's what we did. We trusted our gut. We left our corporate jobs and we jumped into a business that we hated, and we closed that down in 5 weeks. And so it was a roller coaster of trying to figure out what entrepreneurship means for us and how we wanted to make an impact on the world. It didn't happen for us quickly, but it happened for us exactly the way it needed to. We had to go through some stuff first to figure it out.
Yeah,
And it's funny, like sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no problem.
I was just going to say, like, and we know entrepreneurship is like jumping out of a plane without a parachute, building it on the way down. And we didn't know that exactly in the moment. And because we were such planners, the idea of not having that plan, it really scared us a lot. But also understanding now that as an entrepreneur, that even if we had a plan, the world or the universe was going to tell us, that's cute, but we have a different plan. And so it really would have been a wasted effort anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. You love to do planning, but when you decided to jump out of your jobs, you had basically no plan. But at the same time, things opened up slowly, like you mentioned. It should be. But how do you feel inside? Like if this is not going to work in a year or 2 or 3, like how did you have some kind of fear that how would I like provide for ourselves, for yourselves? In that way that if it did not work, or did you had someone outside of you both encourage you, or did you yourself both encourage yourselves, or did you encourage each other?
Yeah, I think all of those things. One, we were super terrified about how we were going to make this work, which is why we jumped into a business immediately to replace our corporate incomes that we hated and was starting to impact our relationship. And so we made the decision quite quickly in just over a month to shut that down and get better aligned on what we actually wanted our life to be like. And so we spent that time to figure that out. And I would say when we were leaving our job, what we said a lot was worst case scenario, this doesn't work, we get another job, right? Like this is not an irreversible decision. However, the further down the entrepreneurship road we've gotten, we've become completely unemployable now. The idea of going back and getting a job is just not on the radar at all anymore. So it's almost like it's a little story we told ourselves that we're going to give this a go, and if it doesn't work, we can always get another job. And then the more you learn, the more personal development you do, the more you trust yourself, the less of an option just going back and getting another job becomes, because you have this feeling inside of you that you have an impact you want to make on the world, and you have a gift that you want to give to other people, and going back and getting another job just doesn't allow you to do that. And so there always will be days that are stressful and that are, make you worried and, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Things always come up. Luckily for us, they don't usually come up. We don't feel that on the same day most of the time. So when one of us is having a stressful day or, worried about something, the other one usually can pull them back out of that stress hole, that worried place that they are, and pull them back up and get them kind of vibrating on a higher energy level again. So that's usually a pretty helpful approach for us because we do have both of us in here.
And I would say, I would say, yes, we do have each other to bounce ideas off of. And both of us being on this personal growth journey, this entrepreneurial journey together has been very beneficial for us in that we now have the skills and the ability to, pull each other out of those places where we're entrepreneurs. Sometimes we go to dark places when fear or something comes up. You can't help. We're humans, but we have that person that's there to hold us accountable and to pull us out. And we've also invested in mentorship and business coaches and those sorts of things. Like we knew enough to know that we needed help. Like we weren't experts in this. We needed some support to help us down the path. So we've leveraged resources and coaches and each other and
communities.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to your point, yeah, there was a lot of fear, and there still is. There is like it's entrepreneurship, and I think that if you're thinking big enough, then you're always going to have those fears and those moments where you're questioning, am I really doing this? Like, what am I doing right now? And I think if you don't have goals big enough, then you're not doing it right. Then you're not going to have those
your goals should scare you.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you, because if we are having goals that we usually kind of achieve, there is no point. Like we have to have bigger goals than us. We are not used to achieving before. So now in your journey, throughout your journey, and especially you are being in the same journey together, what do you think are the most important skills that any entrepreneur in general should have, or at least at the beginning should develop? Like what did you see going out through when you are jumped from the corporate to being an entrepreneur, that you see that was so important that you must learn and develop as fast and as quickly as possible?
I would say a resilience. Like I would say don't ever give up. There's a difference between quitting and giving up. Quitting is like you realize you don't want the outcome and you stop doing something because you don't want that outcome. But not giving up is you want something, and maybe this didn't work, but something else will, and finding that within yourself to keep going and never give up. You can quit things that don't serve you, like that aren't going to get you to your goal, that you don't want anymore, but never give up. I would say knowing the difference between quitting and giving up, and to have that resilience of never give up. Go for your dreams.
Yeah. So I was going to say commitment, but I think you covered that. And so I think the other one is faith. Having enough belief in yourself, in what you're trying to accomplish, in your goal, in why, in your ability to get there eventually. You're not going to know the whole path when you start. You're not going to know how to get exactly from point A to point B when you start. You're going to have to take the first step or two on blind faith and trust that the path is going to appear. And so we all seem to be able to worry and fear, and those are faith-based things too, right? We worry and we're afraid of things that we can't see. We have a little bit harder time applying faith in the positive sense of just having that innate trust in yourself and the universe that it's all going to come together. Maybe not on your timeline, often not on your timeline, but it will happen. And so I think faith and then the commitment to not quit are the two most important skills you can build as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's very important because, like you mentioned, when you jumped, you both specifically, when you jumped to this, you basically usually plan, but when you jumped to this, you did not really plan. So the most important thing in for us humans in general is to actually like take action.
Mhm.
Because if we don't like I say we wouldn't know the results, like if this is something is going to work or not. How long are we going to tolerate for it to work or not? Like you tested something after 4 or 5 weeks, you quit that and you move to something different. This way of making a decision, like this is self-leadership that the most important thing is to take a decision and go beyond that and stop like worrying about everything and having this kind of fear about everything. What ifs, what if? This is not a good idea for a business owner or entrepreneur as a mindset to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say a lot, stop worrying about making the right decision and just make your decision right. So just make the decision and then spend that energy that you would have wasted worrying about your decision before you make it, spend that energy making it the right decision for you by taking action. Because by taking action, that's how you get the data. That's how you know what's working and what needs to be tweaked. Like you can spend a lot more time making a perfect plan, and then when it comes to executing, you're going to have to revise that plan anyway. You might as well not spend all that time on the front end and just take the first step and course correct as you go, because you'll get to where you want to be way faster that way.
Definitely. So now I'm sure that Meredith has some kind of skills or certain things that you are good at and certain things you're not. And Greg, the same, right? So how do you complement each other and in a aligned way that you have certain things that what you're good at, no, and you too as well, and you work together as a team to do that and not go step on the foot of the other, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, we've figured it out as we've had to build these skills as we go. So we've sort of figured it out by trial and error what skills we each have. So for example, we've discovered that Craig is a really good writer. Craig is clever and funny and witty, and he can write things really well. So when it comes to writing our website and anything that has to be written, emails, copy, all that stuff, over to him because he's way better at it. But it's taken us a little trial and error to kind of figure out where we each play best, like, because it's a waste of time for me to try and do something that I'm not as good at when he can do it much easier, faster, and better.
Yeah, I agree. It is a lot of trial and error. We weren't entrepreneurs coming into this, so we had to figure out what skills we had and where they lent themselves the best. And to her point, I can write okay, and so that's kind of where I fit in. And she's got some skills around people and communicating, and so she's really good at forward-facing stuff of talking with clients and enrolling people in our programs and helping them to get to the outcomes that they really want. And so she's really good at that part. And so it's been a bit of trial and error, and so it's not always perfect when you start. You're gonna, it's gonna be almost like an animal when it's first born. It can't really walk yet. It stumbles around and then it finally gets its legs and then it can run and do its thing. So I would say it's a lot like that in that we've grown into a bit of a system that works for us and leveraged our skills. And I think one of the really important things when you go into a business together with your spouse or some sort of a partnership is communication. When something is going on in the business and you don't necessarily agree with the approach, or you see something that maybe the other person doesn't see, being able to communicate that in a way that doesn't, cause a wall to be built, or cause, communicating that in an effective way that it lands for the other person so that they don't take it the wrong way, I would say is another, skill that we've leveraged in building this.
Mm, totally. That's an amazing point. You mentioned communication because when you have a partner you're working with, you find a way to have a better communication, whether for the relationship itself or for the business communication, right? And also, I might think this would help in communication with your customers, your clients, which is very important. You want to to have the right aligned clients, and you know how to communicate with them, right? So this is kind of a maybe a snowball that helps in different aspects of life and business at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of skills that you build, I think, as an entrepreneur that you leverage for a successful marriage, for example, or for your health, like for other areas of your life, for all areas of your life. You can apply all the skills as an entrepreneur that you build as an entrepreneur in every other area of your life if you're paying attention, because the skills are leverageable everywhere.
Definitely. So, throughout your journey now, what is the worst advice that you have received so far?
Oh, I think the worst advice that I remember hearing was at a personal growth event, and we were at a place where we had just started this business that didn't work for us, and we had just stopped it. 5 weeks in, we realized that this was not for us, and it was starting to build a wall between us. So we said, nope, this is not the business for us. And right on the heels of that, we went to a personal growth event, and we were kind of explaining where we were and how we were struggling a little bit with, we want to be entrepreneurs, but we're not sure exactly what that means for us and where we fit in and what we should be doing. And the guy that was giving us advice said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. Just do something. It doesn't matter. Like and this person was a Windows person. Like he installed Windows in homes. And he said, I'm a Windows guy. I install Windows in houses. Do you think I have a passion for it? I don't. I don't care. It's just go out and make money. That's all you need to do. Don't worry about what it is. Just go out, find a business that makes money, and you'll be fine. And to be honest with you, I feel like that was the worst advice we had heard.
Yeah.
Money's important, don't get me wrong. It's a resource that allows us to do the things that we want to do with who we want to do it with and build that life. But it's not all about money. And entrepreneurship is not all about money. It's about making and leaving an impact in the world and following your passions. And we've learned that since then. But yeah, I would say early days, that advice was the worst advice we heard.
And to be honest, when we heard it, we were both like,
It didn't sit well with us. It felt wrong actually when we heard it. It didn't land for us, but I do still remember that particular day
Yeah.
quite well.
yeah.
Yeah, we sometimes don't agree a lot of things. Like it could be a passion to solve problems. So this is the issue that can be like you have to have some kind of passion to solve problems. Sometimes we do say things that we don't even like, but in order to get some money back. But doing things that we are passionate about to solve other people problems, this is the thing that we actually need to maybe strive to do more and more of, right? Do you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Totally agree with that.
100% agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, what would you recommend some tools, resources, or books for people to read or consume?
For a business or for their relationship,
Whichever
both.
you like.
Yeah. What have you got? Anything off the top of mind?
Well, I think we're talking about for anything broadly.
Yeah.
My favorite book to recommend for people, The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. It's a fantastic, like, personal growth
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, I think that's a great book for personal growth and looking within. A good business book, I would say, is Profit First.
Mm-hmm.
Profit First would be a good one.
Mm.
And for relationships and marriage, I would say our podcast. But Other than that, I would say, yeah, I would say those are the resources.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, I also really like Be Your Future Self Now as a book for business for that
Yes,
that applies to all.
That's a
I think the principles in that book you can apply to your relationship, to your business, to everything.
that is a great book. Be Your Future Self Now. Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
So Meredith and Craig, where can people learn more about you, get in touch with you?
You can find us on Instagram. We're at Meredith and Craig on Instagram. And from there, you can get anywhere to our website, to our Facebook group, everywhere. So Instagram's probably the best place to start with us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Meredith and Greg, for joining me for this episode of the Success Great podcast. Really great and lovely to have people like you who are working together to build something that is great for the now and the future for yourself and for other people that you would help. And it's very insightful and very great story that you have jumping from corporate to building your own with taking the leap that is it could be scary a little bit at the beginning. So thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you very much for having us, Hussein.
Thanks, Hussein. It was a pleasure.